Hi, I'm Terry Naturally,
And I'm Dr. Lynn Wagner.
and I have over 50 years of experience and knowledge in health and nutrition.
And I'm a medical doctor with a passion for holistic health. We come together to offer you unique viewpoints and expertise as health advocates around topics that deal with today's health concerns.
And always for your good health. So let's get into today's topic.
Good morning, Terry.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. We're back on track.
We are.
Yeah.
Right. I'm excited,
Me too.
especially about this topic.
Yes, I am absolutely, because I have a ton of things that I would like to offer, things that I've gone through personally and what I've discovered for myself. And I think that's what everybody should do, is discover for themselves what works best.
I completely agree. And I think, so today we're going to talk about diets.
Yes.
And I think we give our personal experience, we give our professional opinion, and then at the end of the day, we help guide people as to how they decide what the right diet for them is.
Right.
Do you want to talk about what you do first?
What I do first?
Or what you think is the ideal diet?
Okay. Ideal for me.
Yes.
Other people out there may choose something else. But for sure, one thing that I think everybody should do is reduce the amount of carbohydrates and sugar in the diet.
Yes.
Especially because the carbohydrates that are consumed in America are refined and processed. No nutritional value. And all carbohydrates, the only way they can be metabolized and utilized in the body is to convert to sugar.
Sugar.
And we have so much, diabetes is an epidemic.
Do you know when I went to medical school, we still called it adult onset diabetes?
Yes.
Do you know what we call it now?
Well, everybody's diabetes.
Yeah, non-insulin dependent diabetes, because it's in all age groups now. When I was in medical school, I'm older, but not that old, so this wasn't that long ago. We still called it adult onset diabetes.
38 million Americans have type 2 diabetes. And I believe it's optional.
It is, for most people.
Oh yeah, because what you choose influences your sugar levels.
Right.
And the way I look at that is that we eat a lot of sugar. The amount of sugar that we consumed in America in the early 1900s was about 4 to 5 pounds of sugar per year per individual. Now it's up to close to 200 to 250 pounds of sugar per year per individual. And I know you don't eat sugar, I don't eat sugar. So if somebody else is eating our sugar, it's based on the national average. So they could be up to 300 pounds of sugar. That's almost 3/4 of a pound of sugar a day.
Well, do you ever look at people's carts at the grocery store?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And they have the Mountain Dew
12
packs.
Cases of it.
Cases of it. And I don't think, when I was also training in medical school, the one thing they told me over and over and over again, especially for emergency medicine training, is you always have to talk like you're talking to a third grader. So I want to back up and tell people, when we're talking about sugar and refined carbohydrates, we're talking about not just table sugar, we're talking about bread, pasta, crackers, cookies.
All the carbohydrates.
Those are all carbohydrates. And when you eat them, your body literally converts them almost immediately into sugar.
Right.
So it's no different whether you eat a tablespoon of sugar or you eat, there's a little bit of difference, obviously, or a big bagel, because ultimately it becomes almost the same thing, and it does the same thing to your body. So that's what we're talking about sugar.
Right.
Right?
Right. All the carbohydrates, all the grain-based foods, and flour-based foods
that make up the majority of a lot of our diets.
Everything. That's what people eat today, and plus the fact that all that sugar that we think we don't eat is hidden. Like in a big coffee drink from Starbucks.
Ketchup.
12 to 14 teaspoons of sugar. Ketchup is 1/3 sugar.
Right. Granola bars.
Yeah, they're hidden all over.
Go-Gurts.
Yes.
Soup.
With all the and people think they're really doing a service to themselves when they have a juice drink.
Oh, right.
Drinking a glass of orange juice for breakfast.
Right.
I've been on planes and I watch people eat their breakfast in the morning on the plane.
Right.
And they'll order like 2, 3, 4 glasses of orange juice. Oh, I'm getting my vitamin C.
Right.
But you're getting about 14 teaspoons of sugar per glass of juice.
Right.
It's tremendous where all the sugar comes from.
Right. And I think, I always too want to make sure that, when I talk emphatically about sugar and diet, that I don't shame people, because I think a lot of people just don't know.
Oh, they don't know.
Because literally from the day you're born and the day that you can see colors and shapes, you're getting ads and media and enticing things telling you that Doritos are good and Little Debbie's are good. And then in these foods, they call them hyperpalatable foods. So these companies have actually manufactured these foods so that when they go in your mouth, they like explode with amazing goodness.
Right.
They trigger your brain to give you dopamine bursts. So they make you feel good. It's like getting hooked like a junkie.
Right.
So no one should feel bad about how much sugar they eat. Like, you're up against a big mountain, so you have to be very intentional and educate yourself first about what sugar is and what foods it's in and what it does to your body,
Right.
and then make the decision to like remove it.
Right.
Like you have, and like I have most of the time.
I have a dog that...
You're way better than I am.
Well, I have a dog that begs to go for a ride. So every night when I get home from the office, I take her for a ride and I listen to classic radio on Sirius.
Nice.
And it's all the old, all the radio shows that I listened to when I was a kid. You know, like Gangbusters and Lux Radio Theater and all those kind of things. Then the commercials come on, and they're still from the 30s and 40s commercials. And they're talking about, hey, the sugar cereal that's now available. And kids, you know what? Sugar is good for you. You need it for your energy. Tell your mom, buy this cereal because the sugar is good for you.
Right.
And that's when it came about, when fats were bad for us, so everybody jumped on sugars and carbohydrates.
Did you? And you know that they came out with, they found out that fat industry actually, or no, the sugar industry actually demonized fat intentionally.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school and college, and we started doing these no-fat diets, and we would eat all the licorice you can eat, all the snack bowls, cookies, which were just solid sugar. That's what we thought was right, because these sugar companies had demonized fat. So that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, I went through all that phase too, because I could eat a bag of Oreos.
Right.
No problem at all.
I know.
Yeah.
We would literally eat Twizzlers for lunch.
But you know, you're the doctor, so you know, I don't have any medical degrees. I'm not a chemist or a scientist. But so I'm going to ask the doctor. Okay, so what I look at is we eat a lot. Americans eat a lot of sugar, and so we don't have enough insulin that is produced by the body to shuttle that sugar into the cells to burn as energy and burn it off.
Right.
So that sugar then converts to fat.
Correct.
And puts into storage, and the only place to store it is belly fat,
right,
or anywhere else on the body is fat.
Right.
But when they go to the doctor says, oh my God, your blood sugar is so high, you're a diabetic. They're not diabetic. I don't believe they are. I think they're a sugaraholic and have so much sugar in their blood,
right,
it has no place to go.
Right.
So now they get pills and they get insulin to take care of that sugar, rather than saying to the patient, stop eating sugar.
You know why? Because it's easier to give them a pill than it is to talk to them about a new diet.
Oh yeah, because they only have 6 minutes
right,
anyway to talk to the
exactly,
patient.
exactly. But again, that's another topic. No, I do agree with you. I think the caveat is that for those people who don't understand diabetes, there are two types of diabetes, and there is the one that's the autoimmune disease that no matter how healthy you eat, you're going to be diabetic.
That's type 1.
Right, so type 1. And then there are some type 2 diabetics that I know for a fact that no matter how healthy they eat or how much they exercise and how much they control things, that they're not going to be able to control their sugar. And we don't know for sure why that happens, whether it's genetic or or there's toxins that are affecting them or what's at play there. But that's a very small section of the non-insulin dependent community.
I think 98% of all the diabetics today, the type 2 diabetics, are only by choice. But they don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
What they do every day is a choice, and that actually influences the sugar.
Right. And that's where people are just so resigned to say, oh, you know what, I can take this pill, it's easy, it's only $10 a month.
And I don't have to give up my food.
I don't have to give up my food. And I always want to, when people come to me, they're at that level where they want to make change so it's easier, but I always want to just shake people and say, do you know how much better you could feel? Do you know that you're here for a purpose?
Right.
And just slogging through day after day and feeling lethargic is not okay.
Yeah.
And you can do better.
Right.
And you will feel better.
You know, on my radio show, I do a radio show every Saturday and Sunday morning. I tell my listeners that, I'm trying to give them the fact that we decide our level of health. The doctor does not do that.
No.
Drugs don't do that.
No.
Neither of them promote health in general. The doctor is chasing disease, and that is important because disease could take somebody's life.
Right.
So drugs are important at some cases in emergency or in a crisis. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, we influence our health by every choice we make for the food we eat. Every all day we make choices.
Right.
The clothes we wear is a choice. Where we're going that day is a choice. How we get to the office that day or the job that we have are all choices. And our food is also a choice. And I think we're making wrong choices. And the American population doesn't realize that they have such a power over their own health. And food is the greatest medicine in the world.
It's the greatest
powerful medicine in the world for physical and mental health.
It is. And it's really hard. I mean, every day I personally struggle. It's gotten so much easier. But, I didn't start eating a very healthy diet until about 8 years ago. And before that, I was transitioning and I was eating. I transitioned from, as a kid, I was soda, Doritos, sugar.
We all were.
And then, medical school and college, I started transitioning to more whole foods, but it was still high carbohydrate, which ended up being obviously high sugar. But I felt like, if it's whole and natural, it's made from flour, it's probably good. That's natural.
We don't think about it though. We don't think.
You don't think about it. And then when I finally started my integrative medicine training and really just digging into it, I was like, okay, I actually have to eat more meat, more fat, a lot of vegetables, healthier grain choices like whole grains, and it was hard. And it's honestly still hard because sometimes, I have young children and we're trying to make school lunches. I'm trying to make family dinners that they'll eat, and it's not easy.
Right.
So I understand where the community is coming from. So I never want to come off as I'm being judgmental or shaming or any of that. People need to realize it is really hard, but then they also need to realize that you can completely do it and you do not have to be a doctor or a rocket scientist to do it.
There are only 3 choices that people make about food. Oh, I like that food I just bought. It tastes really good. I think I'll buy it again. Oh, and it was inexpensive, so that's really good too.
Right.
And it was very easy to make. All I had to do was pop it in the microwave,
Right.
And it only took me 5 minutes, and I was done eating. So all those 3 reasons are what people think about when they eat food. And it's unfortunate because the only thing that we drive on, like a car drives on gas,
Right.
we drive on vitamins and minerals and the accessory food factors that are in food, fiber, and all that things that are found in food, fats. Yeah, I mean, our whole diet today in America upside down.
Completely upside down. And so I know we've talked a little bit about our personal diets, and
Right.
we follow a little bit of a different diet. So I do what I currently do is I would say I try to get around 50% of my diet coming from a plant, so mostly vegetables, maybe some beans and grains, but not a whole lot, maybe a serving a day at most. And then I do eat meat every day, and I don't care if it's fatty meat or lean meat. I eat all types of meat, but I get grass-fed meat. I eat a lot of eggs like you do. I know you eat a lot of eggs because I see you posted on social media.
Absolutely.
So I eat 3 eggs a day, which people kind of
That's
think
great.
It's great.
Fantastic.
I've done that for years, and I love it. Plenty of fat, so coconut oil and olive oil, and then a little bit of fruit, like 1 or 2 servings a day. Am I missing? Not a lot of dairy. I love cheese, so that's kind of my weakness is cheese. I can eat loads of cheese, so that's probably my weakness. And then when I have a sandwich, I usually do a lettuce wrap. If I have a burger, I try to do it without the bun. But I do love pizza and burgers with a bun and all that stuff, so that's where I go off track.
All right.
And I have to cook that kind of stuff for my kids because they won't always do the super healthy diet.
Well, kids have a really tough time, when they're a peer group and they're out. They're all ordering pizza.
Yeah.
And, it's really tough.
It's really tough, and their school lunches are
unless
the way
they
they
really
are.
start thinking about it and maybe prepare for the future. But,
Right.
my diet is much, 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 much more stricter than your diet,
Mm-hmm.
but it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through hell in my younger years: grossly overweight, depression. I was a junkaholic. I was a carbaholic, sugaraholic, whatever you want to call it. And so, I became fat. I became, I didn't have muscle strength. I didn't have muscle tone. It was flabby. I was terrible in shape. But long story, I'm not going to get into it because we did a podcast on what I went through. But what I discovered was, and I tried all kinds of diets. I've been doing this over 50 years, involved in health and nutrition. I'm a year older than you are, probably.
Yeah.
No, you're so young. You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
But, I tried all kinds of things. I tried the macrobiotic diet. I tried a vegan diet. I tried a vegetarian diet. And temporarily I felt better because I didn't have to deal with a lot of food because it was just all plant.
Right.
But I didn't feel good. Eventually it just got to a point. One day I was on a vegetarian diet for about 4 or 5 years. And one day,
Not vegan, vegetarian.
vegetarian.
Okay.
I picked up a bag of grains, 50-pound bag of grains, and I almost passed out. I got so dizzy from bending over trying to pick that up, and I said, "Whoa, this is not good. Something's wrong." And I had my kids convinced at that time that I was vegetarian, and they should be too.
Right.
Everything we made at home was vegetarian, and they were eating food outside the house
Right.
to keep up their health.
Right.
To keep up their health. It was so funny. So I started eating meat on the side to not influence them that I was cheating, because when I had that happen, that was the only way I thought I could be healthy. So then I tried the paleo diet, and I did well on the paleo diet.
Yeah.
Then I came to the ketogenic diet, and my diet is protein, not a lot of protein. It's moderate. You don't need a lot of protein to be healthy.
I agree.
But the ketogenic diet is primarily fat. So I have a lot of olive oil, and I discovered a new oil too that works really well for me. It's pecan oil.
Oh, interesting.
In fact, pecan oil has more polyphenols and more of omega fatty acids, omega-9, like olive oil does. But if you take pecan oil, it's more concentrated than wine and olive oil together. So I've been using kind of a mix of that.
I've never seen that.
But I didn't either. I got a gift from a friend saying this pecan oil is magic. You know.
Does it taste like a little bit like the pecans too?
Absolutely.
Oh, yummy.
Absolutely, it tastes like pecan.
Nom.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So I use that. I use a lot of fat, ribeyes, eggs.
Could you say like a typical breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I think that helps people understand.
Yeah, for breakfast usually I have poached eggs for breakfast. I have 3 or 4 poached eggs.
On a piece of white bread, right?
Pardon me?
On a piece of white bread?
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
You know what I do? When I go into restaurants, I think I'm crazy when I'm traveling or something. I said I want 4 poached eggs in a bowl.
Yes.
I don't want them to be spread all over the plate.
Right.
And they're in a bowl? Why do you want it in a bowl?
So you can get all the goodness.
All the goodness.
Right.
I can scoop
So
it
you
up
don't have to lick
with a
your
spoon
plate.
and
Right.
I don't waste it. Otherwise it soaks on the bread and then you have to eat the bread.
Right.
And then I'll have maybe a double quarter of bacon.
Okay.
And that's it.
Are you careful about where you source? Not when you're traveling, obviously, but when you get it.
It's hard to, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Do you get the grass-fed organic?
Grass-fed, yes. Everything.
Or pasture-raised?
Grass-fed beef. I have a really good company that I order almost everything online.
Okay.
And I look for good proteins. I look for the fatties. I like the ribeyes. Meat fats are good for us. Anything that's healthy in animal proteins, like fish, anything of that kind. I don't eat as much seafood as I do meat. I think I do so much better on red meat.
So you eat for lunch and dinner. Would you have red meat most days?
I'll have at least 1 or 2 servings a day of red meat. But like for lunch, what I'll have is 6 or 7 ounces of salmon, 2 poached eggs, and maybe I'll have half a cup of blueberries.
So you're looking at about 6 eggs a day?
I would say, yeah, probably 6 eggs a day.
Have you ever noticed adverse effects on your health from that, in terms of like cholesterol?
Oh, absolutely not.
Anything like that? Okay.
No. In fact, they've proven that you can't absorb enough cholesterol from the food you eat.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that actually how cholesterol is actually a really important part of your body.
Yeah.
It's the basis of all of your
it makes all our hormones.
Right.
It makes all the DHEA, it makes pregnenolone,
testosterone,
it makes testosterone, estrogen, it makes all of it. Then people say, well, I've been following this low-fat diet, and I have no ability to have sex. I am just dead.
Right.
We need cholesterol to make all these great hormones.
Exactly.
And that's what keeps our body together.
So you don't do any grains at all?
No.
Beans?
No beans.
Not a lot for just berries for fruit, so low sugar fruits. It sounds like
raspberries.
Do you keep yourself in ketosis? Like if you measured your urine, would you be?
I never measure. I just go by the way I feel.
Okay.
And when I started, I lost about 35 pounds. You don't even try. I mean, people that want to lose weight, and I know there's a segment of people, a small percentage that can't lose weight. But when you go on the ketogenic diet, you automatically will lose weight. You don't even have to try, and you don't have to cut your portions down. You don't have to cut your calories down. You don't have to walk away from a table hungry.
Right.
It's not a diet. It's just a behavioral change.
Right.
And you're taking on a new form of food. It's food chemistry versus body chemistry and brain chemistry.
Do you so when you did paleo, which I don't think is that far from keto,
No, not far.
It's different, obviously, in the fat ratio, and then you can it has a little bit more freedom.
I don't do well at all with dairy. I have very little dairy in my diet.
Right.
I do use some goat cheese and goat yogurt once in a while, which I can get by with. But if I stay too much on the dairy trail, I start getting a lot of congestion, a lot of upper respiratory problems. It's just too much. I can't digest it.
Right. I completely.
But what I found out was, I've worked out all my life, and you couldn't tell the difference. I mean, I didn't look any different than working out or didn't working out. I mean, I didn't have any muscle tone from it. I didn't have any strength from it. And going on the ketogenic diet, my muscle tone has improved almost unbelievably well.
That's incredible.
My legs are stronger. My legs are more muscular. My body is more muscular. You look at my back and it looks like, wow. I mean,
and the only thing you changed was going to the ketogenic diet for
absolutely.
that?
Well, I used to work out 3 times a week. Now I work out once or twice a week, about 25 to 30 minutes.
With weights?
With weights. I think weights are important for strength of your muscles and 100%. Your bones, and you need weight-bearing exercise.
Agree.
But it just made my body much, much stronger. I think the meat, then the lack of the carbohydrates, which I think it just makes you fat.
Right.
And it layers of fat on it. I used to weigh, years ago, I weighed close to 250 pounds, and I'm only 5'6", 5'7". So it's like 5 by 5.
Right. No, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I would say, for people listening to this podcast, as someone who takes care of patients and is coaching them on what diet to use, what you do is probably not the right fit for everyone, and it's probably not the right fit for most people currently. I'm just going to say that and put that out there, because knowing how people are now and where they are today, to get to the level that you're at is maybe not attainable for most people.
Well, I agree to that to a certain point, but it's harder to follow, and it's more difficult to follow when you've gone through the American diet, and you have been on the American diet all your life now. But I'll tell you what, if you've been sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you want to bring back your health, I know people that have made drastic changes overnight.
I agree.
And said, I'm dumping the sugar, I'm dumping the carbohydrates. And I've talked to people that had major pain, major arthritis, major complications, and within 3 months, 4 months, they turned around their health dramatically, and they'll never go back. They'll never go back to the American diet. They'll stay with the ketogenic diet, or they'll stay with a partial ketogenic diet, and maybe a little bit of cheating here or there. Maybe, because my grams of carbohydrates per day is 25.
That's really low.
The American diet is 400.
Right. No, and I think it doesn't mean people can't shoot towards that ketogenic style diet, but when I coach my patients, I don't even say the word ketogenic, but it's probably a modified ketogenic diet.
Well, maybe it's just a low carb diet.
It's a low carb diet, basically.
Yeah.
And I think like you were saying, it takes a lot of people to get to that point where they are so sick of being sick and tired that they finally make a drastic change, and that's what it takes for a lot of people to get there. But the sooner you can do it, the less likely you are to have to go through that health condition or that period of pain or suffering that you have to go through when your health fails.
Yeah.
Because regardless of what you've got going on, if you follow a standard American diet for your entire life, you're more likely than not to have a disease from that. I would say most people will have a disease directly because of their diet, whether it's diabetes or high blood pressure or obesity or depression.
Right.
I think people don't realize the effect of food and nutrition and your blood sugar and your level of inflammation on your brain health and your mood and your mental clarity. People don't understand that.
No, not at all.
And you do, because you've gone from being in more of like a lower carb ketosis type state compared to what you felt like when you were maybe higher carved up.
Yep.
And it's completely a 180. It's clear. It's expansive thinking. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, you run a company, so obviously you know what I'm talking about, because you wouldn't get where you are without having that in you. That's where I just feel people don't understand how much better they could feel.
Oh my gosh. And it's everything. If you want to be a better mother, a better father, a better business person, if you want to make more money on your job, everything is...
Sleep better.
Yeah, you sleep better. You have
better
more
sex.
productivity. You have better brain thought.
Right.
You're sharp. when you don't have, you're tired, you're dragged out, and you got this sugar rush, and it's terrible. It's
And I think, I talk a lot about my kids and how it's hard to maneuver those worlds, but you can still, I think, do it both ways. So I don't force my kids to eat a certain diet. I don't bring a lot of the junk in, but I also don't completely isolate them from it with the sole intention that I don't want them to be sneaking it at school or going away to college and binging because they never got it when they were a child.
right.
And what I found in my personal life is that as they got to that late teenage years, college year, they naturally, their brain formed enough and they became mature enough that they could understand the consequences of the bad food, and they felt the difference when they ate the bad food versus the good food, and they've naturally transitioned to healthier foods the older they get.
Right.
My 12-year-old, he's still completely addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
But he just says, my older ones have transitioned and do a great job.
And my kids too. I mean, they're older than your kid, but they went through this whole thing at like dad's crazy.
Right.
He's got his
I can only imagine.
diet.
Right.
And then now they have gravitated to almost a ketogenic diet. My daughter has. My son is almost there. They eat very, very clean.
Right.
They eat a lot of good food. They don't eat anything kind of junky. It's come back to them.
Right.
They saw some of the things that made sense, and as they're getting older, and they don't feel as well. And now I've changed, and now I feel better. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the proof is in the pudding.
So, what would you say to the people who, I follow a lot of people on social media who believe in all the different diets. So, one thought leader I follow is a huge carnivore person, which I think is basically the same as ketogenic.
Yeah, and who? You a carnivore person?
Yes. I follow a couple different carnivore people on social media, but then obviously I follow vegan people and I follow plant-based people, and they're always arguing. There's so much arguing and trolling on each other's social media feeds. And what do you say to someone who comes to you on the street or in your office and says, Terry, you've got it all wrong. The way of the future is vegetarian, plant-based. We're going to kill our environment. Grains are the best. What do you say to them?
There really is. There's no answer for that.
Right.
Because they are convinced where they are is right. And probably if you say anything that's going to conflict, it just irritates them and chases them away.
Right.
I just recommend what I do. I feel fantastic. It's hard to make somebody else change. And right now, I don't know why we are in this plant explosion. Why everybody is changing the plants. Now they're putting plant burgers. All these things that are so artificial.
Don't even get me started on that.
And the junk they put in, it's like changing, from gluten food to non-gluten. The non-gluten are even worse than the gluten.
They're so
foods.
bad, right?
They're all, they're manufactured, almost synthetic.
Yes.
How can you even want to eat that
right.
stuff?
I think that's a great topic. When I do have patients go gluten-free, a lot of them.
Yes.
For various reasons, and I always tell them, this doesn't mean I want you to shop in the gluten-free section.
Right.
Do not shop in the gluten-free section, because that's all processed crap too.
Yeah.
They just took a different grain and they processed it, and it's still going to turn into sugar.
Yeah.
So gluten-free means eat more meat, vegetables, whole foods.
Eat the perimeter of the store.
Exactly. Yes. Right. No. So I think that's a great point, but I think people have to figure it out for themselves. And I think if you're someone listening to this podcast and you're saying, oh my gosh, this is a lot of information. Do I do what Dr. Wagner's saying? Do I do what Terry's saying? Maybe I do want to be vegan or vegetarian. You have to try them on yourself.
Oh, yes.
And you have to see how you feel.
Yes, absolutely.
And you'll know.
You'll know. Within 3 months, you'll know better.
Mm-hmm.
But what I tell people is I have a lot of people that write to me and ask questions based on my radio show. My website, you can ask me any questions you want. And they always have this, have this problem, what can I do about it? And I always start off, first of all, I would definitely recommend, and I highly would suggest, that you adopt the ketogenic diet. This is going to solve a lot of your overconsumption of sugar and carbohydrates, and I want you to explore it. And I give them 3 websites to go explore the ketogenic diet, and then I let them make up their own mind. Mm-hmm. And if they look at it and say, I'm going to try it, or they're going to say, I can't do that, but they have some choices then, and I just want to expose them to it.
Can we share those websites in our show notes?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because I think people ask me all the time for resources on all these different diets, and it's hard, because I don't have time to write the book. You don't have time to write the book.
Yeah, you want me to mention them now?
Sure.
Okay. The one I really like, Ellen Davis. She's I think she has a master's in nutrition. She has a website called ketogenicdietresource.com. And she's involved with all the top researchers, scientific researchers, doctors that have explored the ketogenic diet for diseases. And so she has written e-books, and she has written other books, and she has books on her website, and she has a book that she wrote on ketogenic diet and cancer, because cancer cells are fed on sugar. So this is just helping people to see more evidence of what the ketogenic diet is. Then I recommend the Diet Doctor. The Diet Doctor is it's a website of a Swedish doctor, medical doctor, who became the diet guru in Sweden, and everybody was coming to him. He said, "But I can't take care of all these people." So he said, "I'm gonna start a website," and now he has like 1 million people following his website, and you can go on free. You can get a lot of information free and expose yourself to a lot of information.
Perfect.
And see the testimonials of people. It's unbelievable. What kinds of diseases and overweight and how they've changed their lives and how they look today. And then you can pay another $9.95 a month, and you can get all more scientific evidence.
Right.
And the other one is called diagnosisdiet.com. And that's written by a psychiatrist. And
Okay.
she has changed her life, like you and I discovered how we changed our life. She was a Harvard-trained psychiatrist, but she had all these problems, and nobody could help her solve her medical problems herself, her own personal problems, until she said, "I'm going to do my own exploring." And it came down to diet and nutrition. And that changed her life, and it started changing all of her patients' lives. Now she's almost to the point where she went through keto, and now she's almost a carnivore.
Right.
So, the closer you get, I guess I contemplated doing carnivore. I don't have time to do steaks every day. I mean, cooking or grilling steaks in the morning for breakfast.
No.
I don't think I have that leisure yet at this point to do all that. But I'm close to it because it's eggs and meat.
Right.
And I will have maybe a cup of broccoli with a steak. With about a half a pound of butter.
Well,
Not quite a half a pound, but a lot of butter.
I was going to ask you about that because I'm a big vegetable girl. Because with my patients specifically and with my medical mind, I know that the fiber in vegetables and the antioxidants, those types of things can help with cancer prevention, colon health. So, you imagine the fiber going through your colon and basically brushing it out and keeping it clean. Bowel regularity. There's so many benefits to vegetables that I do push vegetables a lot. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think you need it. It's another way of activating the colon to a certain degree. But when you eat enough fat, there is no reason to have any kind of fiber to regulate the bowel or the intestinal tract. I get a lot of fats, and I never have a problem with elimination or constipation. And when people do, it's because they're not getting enough fats. They're afraid to go that far with fats because they fear, still they have those nagging feelings in the back of their mind that, I'm going to have heart disease, or I'm going to have cancer, or I'm going to have something else. But, it's not.
You're making me a little uptight right now. I'm thinking of all my cardiology colleagues just shaking their head at you right now.
Oh, no, I mean, that's the way we survived for millions of years.
Right. I said, but I'm also thinking of, literally people running through the woods and eating animals and fatty animals and organ meats.
Oh, yeah.
And living and, thriving.
And well, we can't do that, so we do the best we can under the circumstances. So.
Right. No, but I think at the end of the day, what I always think about is if you actually boil down all these fad diets and you tease out the high points of them and the things that are actually working, they're all not that different. You know what I mean? No, you don't understand what I'm saying. But like if you talk about low carb, carnivore, paleo, keto, you've taken it to your extreme with the keto, But 80% of what you're doing is similar to 80% of paleo. It's similar to 80% of a low carb diet.
To a degree, yes, I would say that.
And I would argue that that's probably where most of the gain is coming from for each of those specific diets.
The biggest gain is stop the carbohydrates,
stop the sugar.
I mean, you're going to see an immense change right there.
Huge.
But to get the carbohydrates, I think, here's my point. There's a really good book read, Not by Bread Alone. The book was called Not by Bread Alone.
Okay.
Yep. And he came to a conclusion it was a medical doctor, came to the conclusion after all his research that we should not exceed 75 grams of carbohydrates per day. And that, I think everybody can manage that.
So I can't go on a sourdough bread diet?
No.
Because that sounds good. No, but I think one thing else I want to talk about is addiction, because people also don't realize how addicting sugar is. And think about when you eat something really sweet, a candy bar, eat a piece of bread or a bagel, it makes you feel happy very temporarily.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You get a really good little feeling. Rush. You get a sugar rush. And then it's like, why wouldn't I do that again? But then rapidly after you have the sugar rush, you have your crash and you have your brain fog and your fatigue. And that's all because of what your hormones and your insulin and your sugars, your glucose are doing. So then when you crash, you go for the second hit.
Right.
And so that's where this vicious cycle of sugar addiction comes in. The good thing about it is that unlike tobacco and heroin and things that are highly addictive, you can break sugar. What I've found with patients is that when you break from it and you abstain completely, the cravings go away within days. Yeah. I don't know if you found that yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if I find myself getting heavier on the sugar, if I just do a couple of really clean days, right. my cravings are gone.
Yeah. I walked into the store one day to buy something, and a man came up to me to wait on me. He was so rude and so mean.
Too much sugar.
I said, could I see somebody else? Could somebody help? Could the one young lady over there help me? He said, oh, I don't know. He kind of blew me off. He went in the back room, and she came out, and she was very nice and was helping me. And then all of a sudden, somebody came in with a bag of McDonald's and gave it to the gentleman in the back room. And after he ate, he came out, and he was so nice.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. People don't realize, like, when you eat a healthier diet and your blood sugars are stable, you don't have those highs and lows.
No, you don't.
You don't have those hangry feelings. No. And you don't have those crashes unless there's something else going on. The other question I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on alcohol?
Well, I think moderate is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can be moderate in hard alcohol. But if you have a beer, 2 beers a day,
mm-hmm.
or a glass or 2 of wine,
yep.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
But I think if you go to scotch or vodka or something like that, I do that. That's one of my carbs.
Right.
I'm gonna have a glass of wine with a steak and
we're a wine family. And
I like my mother. My mother never did follow anything I ever said anyway. But she said the only reason I eat bread is so I can have all the butter. When she put butter on her bread, you could see her teeth marks in it.
Right.
And she'd have to be 97.
Right. She would eat butter like cheese.
I eat butter like cheese.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do too.
I would have a bite of steak and a scoop of butter. A bite of steak and a scoop of butter.
Do you think there really is a big difference between the corn-fed cattle?
Oh yeah.
And the products that come from them?
Yeah, because it's high in omega-6.
I would agree.
Where grass-fed is high in omega-3.
Right.
There's a big difference.
I agree. It's trickier to cook with sometimes, so it takes a learning curve of using it. Yeah. Less fat. You definitely can't cook the steaks well, so you have to learn.
Oh, mine are just barely.
Same.
Yeah.
You have to make them moo a little bit.
They're still mooing a little bit, yes. That's the way to eat it, yeah.
Sorry for all of you vegetarians.
Yeah. I can hear everybody clicking off.
I know. See you later.
Yeah, right. You're not going to destroy my day.
Right. No, this is good stuff. So I think, take-home points is...
Cut the carbs.
Cut the carbs.
Get rid of the sugar.
Even if you think you're not eating a lot of sugar.
And read the labels. To make sure what the label says about sugar.
Terry, don't eat foods with labels.
Well, that's true too. You got a good point there. Yeah, because there's no label on dairy. There's no label on vegetables and fruits.
Right.
There's no label on meat.
There's no label on anything you eat.
Yes. No, there's not. No,
right.
Nothing.
So I would say, and obviously that's really hard to do, but if you can go label free.
Probably there's a label on my snack, pork rinds.
Oh, true.
Yeah, but I know it's just pork rinds.
Right. Well, and if it does have a label, it should have maybe 3 ingredients.
Well, depending on what the 3 are.
Depending on what they are, but if you have 3 ingredients, it's more likely to be a whole food.
You're getting down to basics.
Yeah, you're getting on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then cut the sugar. Do just look at what you're eating. Do a food diary and look at the labels and just start being aware. Ask yourself, what am I eating every day? Is this real food or is it fake processed foods that has been made hyper palatable to trick me into thinking it's good for me or to give me a high?
And how do I feel after I eaten that food?
And then how do I feel every day? Am I in my mojo or am I just slogging through life?
Right.
And if you're slogging through life, do something about it, man.
But don't analyze it in a day or two. Make sure you give yourself some time.
Yes.
It takes time, a little bit of time, but the body is so forgiving.
It takes a lifetime.
We can abuse our body for decades.
We can.
And then it turns around within months.
I agree. That's the
Sometimes
most amazing
weeks.
thing. People think they're too old to make changes or they've been
Never.
too hard on their body. Never.
Never.
No, I'm
Never too old.
I have some very
I don't care
disabled
how bad
people.
the conditions are.
Mhm.
I've seen people who change their lives and they've cured themselves of cancer. Well, where did it go? I don't know. But sometimes the doctor said, well, according to the reports here, you shouldn't be here.
I know. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
I had a lady that one time said to me, she said, my oncologist said I was going to be dead in a year. And she said, I told him, to hell with you, I'm not going to die. I've got kids in high school I want to see live again. And
Right.
she changed her life. She went on a diet that was appropriate for her,
Mhm.
cut down all the crap, got rid of all the junk out of her food, started taking some supplements, and she buried the 2 doctors that worked with her.
Wow.
I mean, they all passed on before she did.
Wow. It's amazing. Yeah, I see
It's
I
power
see
too
cases like that
of the
too.
mind.
I agree. So your health is in your hands, and you should still talk to your doctor.
That's the best way to say it. Your health is in your hands.
It's you have the reins.
Absolutely.
And you should use a tribe of healers and people to guide you.
Oh yeah.
But ultimately, the ball is in your park.
Yes, absolutely. Because you're gonna be the one that's gonna say yes or no.
Right.
Yes, I want to do this. No, I don't want to do it. I'd rather go the other way. I have people that said to me, if I have to give up this good sugar food and desserts, then I might as well die. I've had people say that to me,
Right.
and I've had people say to me, I'd rather give up by sex than by dessert.
Wow, that's sad.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, yeah, that is.
I might need a psychiatrist for that.
Hey, we'll have another time to talk about
I
that
know,
too.
right? Exactly. Well, that was good.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think
Good talks.
now it's time to have a good steak.
Sounds good. All right, next
What are
time.
you gonna do there? I'm having a steak. What are you gonna have?
Maybe not the hummus I was planning.
Okay.
Well, I already had my 3 eggs with a green smoothie.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's a good start.
and then, yeah, we'll see. I haven't planned for the rest of the day
All
yet.
right. Well, let's get together again sometime
Sounds
soon.
good. Sounds
All
good.
right.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend.